Hi, my name is Paul Distenfeld, Pinchas ben Menachem Manya ve'Estel. I am a firstborn middle child. I was born during the Holocaust in Europe to parents on the run. My father finished his medical studies in Vienna in 1938. During the war, they were interned, my parents were interned in a concentration camp, and they were used, since he was a physician, to treat a typhoid epidemic in the Ukraine, figuring that either they would succumb or they'd get rounded up again. During the war, somehow he got hooked up with a band of Ukrainian partisans, he and my mother, and they were underground for the duration of the war, being a house physician to this group of Ukrainian partisans who were anti-Semites and would have just as easily killed him as not. But he had very strong faith, he and my mother, and they survived. I was born in 1944 as they were running toward the Russians for liberation in a town called Chernovitz, which then was Romania and is now part of Russia. My parents were from Lviv, Lemberg, which then was Poland and is now part of the Ukraine. After the war was over, my father left my mother in Romania with me, an infant, and went around to see what was left in this world and what could be salvaged. There's some material objects that got salvaged, which I can show you here. This is an Esther scroll, a Megillah, which belonged to my grandfather, who I'm named after. It says here, Pinchas Distenfeld. This and a menorah, which was given by my grandfather Pinchas to my father Menachem when he finished his medical studies in Vienna in 1938, were hidden by our neighbors and were picked up by my father after the war. Another thing that my father picked up after the war was he found the daughter of my mother's sister, then a 4-year-old, being hidden by Gentiles, and he took her, brought her to my mother in Romania and introduced her and said, now you have a daughter as well. And so I spent my entire life always knowing that I had a sister who was 4 years older than me. She has no recollection of any of this, and none of this came out until 40 years later, when I had to help her dispose of some property she co-inherited with my mother in Israel. And only then did it come out, because the land registry was such that her name there was written as Ruth Baumel, not Ruth Distenfeld, that we had to look into the rest of the family who was in Israel and find out what this secret was. During the course, coming from an Orthodox background, there are certain requirements of a firstborn. There's a fast that you have to fast on, that is a fast for firstborn, and every year my father tried to induce me to fast on this fast of a firstborn, and I said, I'm not a firstborn, why do you want me to do this? And there was never any explanation. And so it is only with hindsight that we find out these little interesting segments in life.
Okay, stop.